one thing that needs to be understood about how these orders operate, given that, as we said before, they are military orders. We have to look at the concept of compartmentalization. Because the number one question we get would be, well, if there is some kind of global criminal mafia enterprise that is seeking to either grow or maintain, or both, its power in the world, then how is it possible to have millions of people in on some gigantic conspiracy to run the world? Well, good thing I already made a TikTok video about this, so let's just check it out. This one's for those of you out there who are struggling with this idea that there is a coordinated effort globally to suppress freedom and to create a totalitarian, global, centrally controlled system. The stumbling block in a lot of people's thinking is that how could all these government officials and all of these doctors and nurses and media personalities and professors and all these different people from so many diverse backgrounds, how could they all be in on some gigantic conspiracy to take over the world? Well, if you really take some time to think about it, that's not how it works. The way to understand how coordinated criminal operations like this work is to think about the mafia or think about any other organized criminal network. You could also use the military as an example of how to compartmentalize knowledge, where everybody that's basically a cog in a big gigantic wheel is in the knowledge of what they need to know. You only know what you need to know, and you don't know anything else. It would be the same in a criminal enterprise where you have the big bosses, you have the people that have all the blueprints of the plan of how they're going to get into all these different banks, or how they're going to, run drugs, weapons, or humans. You would have to have some kind of a central brain, which would be let's say, the board level, the high table, using John Wick language, who delivers the narrative, the orders, enough of the blueprint down to those rungs on the ladder below them, and they only give out just enough information so that the people on those different levels of the totem pole do their jobs. If they gave out the whole plan, a lot of this stuff wouldn't get done. So you don't need everybody in on the plan or the agenda. You just need to have the people at all the different levels of your organization in the knowledge of what they need to know. And there's many ways to recruit people into your network. A few different ways of recruiting people into your criminal enterprise, even if they're not criminals, is you can buy them off. You can promise them all kinds of rewards. You can blackmail them. Maybe you got some dirt on them, so you show them a little footage of, a little freaky deaky going on at a Saturday night somewhere, and now you have leverage over them. Or you just outright threaten them. But of course, let's never underestimate the fact that there are people who are also attracted to the ideology of the agenda, who are also just legit on board with this. So it's really important that we stop projecting what we think is how these things are run, and we actually look at how these things are run. Now that we understand that, let's look at the actual definition of the word compartmentalization, which is a gigantic word that I hope will make more sense after I define it for you. It's very important. So, compartmentalization in information security, whether public or private, is the limiting of access to information to persons or other entities on a need-to-know basis to perform certain tasks. It originated in the handling of classified information in military and intelligence applications. That's very interesting. It dates back to antiquity and was successfully used to keep the secret of Greek fire. The basis for compartmentalization is the idea that if fewer people know the details of a mission or task, or global agenda, the risk or likelihood that such information will be compromised or fall in the hands of the opposition is decreased. Hence, varying levels of clearance within organizations exist. Yet, even if someone has the highest clearance, certain compartmentalized information, identified by code words referring to particular types of secret information, may still be restricted to certain operators, even with a lower overall security clearance.
In 1993, announced that the entire spree was engineered by a satanic cult, and others had participated in the plot.
Of course, everyone had played a role as far as the chanting and the praying. Everyone had a role in that, and understanding that, you know, this was going to be another sacrifice to our gods, bunch of scumbags that they were. Our gods, Lucifer and his crew, and we said, yeah, this is going to be another one for you, you know.
Another example of compartmentalization was the Manhattan Project. Personnel at Oak Ridge constructed and operated centrifuges to isolate uranium-235, but most did not know exactly what they were doing. Those that knew did not know why they were doing it. Parts of the weapon were separately designed by teams who did not know how the other parts interacted. And of course, there's an entire story about the Manhattan Project we could get into, but we'll save that for another series. So now you know about compartmentalization and how even classified information in the military intelligence communities are held from public view. They're even held from presidential view, and we have to understand the nature of secrecy in government is far greater than the average person out there probably can even imagine.
My name is Carl Wolf, and I was a precision electronics photographic repairman with a top secret crypto clearance in the United States Air Force. I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. In 1965, in mid-1965, I was loaned to the Lunar Orbiter Project at NASA on Langley Field. Dr. Colley was in charge of that project. They had problems with a piece of electronic equipment that was bottlenecking their production of photographs. I went to the facility, and when I walked into the facility, there were scientists from all over the world. I was stunned, actually, to see people at a NASA project from all over the world. It didn't make any sense to me initially. I was taken into the laboratory where the equipment was malfunctioning. I couldn't repair it in the dark. I asked to have it removed. A Airman Second Class was in the dark room at that time. I was also an Airman Second Class. I was interested in how the whole process functioned, how the data got from the lunar orbiter to the laboratory. I asked the young man if he'd describe the process to me. He did. About 30 minutes into the process, he said to me, in a very distressed way, by the way, we've discovered a base on the backside of the moon. And then he proceeded to put photographs down in front of me, and clearly in these photographs were structures, mushroom-shaped buildings, spherical buildings, and towers. And at that point I was very concerned because I knew we were working on compartmentalized security. He had breached security, and I was actually frightened at that moment. And I did not question him any further. And a few moments later, someone did come into the room. I worked there for 3 more days, and I remember going home and naively thinking, I can't wait to hear about this on the evening news. And here it is, more than 30 years later, and I hope we hear about it tonight. And I will testify under oath before Congress that what I'm saying is the truth.